Sup Trojans, back with another video. So in this one, I wanted to talk about how the Giants need to build this team. I think there's a good foundation here. We got to build it up a little bit more, get a couple more of those elite guys, right? And just fix some holes on the team. But also, I want to sort of compare that to how the Rams did it, because I think the Rams' method of trading for proven players is certainly interesting and very Madden-esque of a team to do. I mean, they traded a lot for Jalen Ramsey. They've paid Aaron Donald a ton of money, and they certainly gave up a lot for a guy like Matthew Stafford. Now, it could have blown up in their face. It could have completely blown up in their face if, let's say, Stafford, for whatever reason, didn't take that leap in winning on a better team, or let's say Jalen Ramsey's personality got the better of him and he got suspended or something. I mean, he was certainly known for being a trash talker back with the Jaguars. But it worked out. It worked out really well for them. And they've had the ability to do some very interesting things recently. They gave Cooper Kupp a solid chunk of change. They made Aaron Donald the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. They gave him quarterback money at $33 million a year. That's pretty impressive. Now, I've said that I hate doing it for a wide receiver. And yeah, I don't think a wide receiver needs that much money because there's 3 of them. And you just need like one guy to get open. But a defensive lineman, I think, is a bit better to give that money to, because you double team a defensive lineman all day. There's no guarantee it locks him down. I mean, a wide receiver you can attempt to lock down as well, but more can go wrong in that. A lot more can go wrong in a wide receiver being great but not getting, the correct stats, the correct game changing that you would want out of a wide receiver. A defensive lineman just has to break the block, and you're getting pressure on the quarterback. Now, that quarterback could be really good and could, still chuck the ball wide open to a wide receiver if you don't have much of a secondary. But they're changing the game. You're feeling that. A wide receiver can be wide open, but nothing changes if the quarterback doesn't see it, or if the quarterback is pressured, or anything else. Or maybe he's wide open. Quarterback throws the ball. Well, it turns out the defensive back is faster and intercepts it. A lot can happen there with a wide receiver. But for a defensive lineman, so I think the Aaron Donald deal, he's a top-tier elite defensive player. He got that contract. I immediately saw Lawrence Taylor comparisons. I'm like, okay, let's calm it down. Let's calm it down. Let's let him finish the career before we even start to make those comparisons. But he's certainly, in my opinion, the best defensive player out in the field today. I think that's fair. And then Rams also went out. They paid a guy like Cooper Kupp $25 million a year. And Cooper Kupp, that's a bit much, but for the Super Bowl MVP, that is about the height of what you might expect. That is sort of what you would think the jump would be in the wide receiver market. Okay, this guy was just a Super Bowl MVP. This guy was clearly instrumental in that. And it's okay, so we were willing to pay 20. Now if you're elite, we'll go 25. But no, you're giving guys that are definitely top 10, but come on, you're going to give other guys $25 million a year? I mean, Cooper Kupp just proved he was elite of elite, Super Bowl MVP wide receiver, and he gets $25 million a year. That should be the top of the wide receiver market, but for whatever reason, it's not. It's really weird. Really weird system. Now, hopefully, for Odell's sake, I'm still somewhat of an Odell Beckham fan. Odell Beckham Jr., hopefully the Rams can re-sign him too, because I think the Rams are going to be good again this season. I know, bold take, Bold take. I think the team that just came off a Super Bowl and is clearly attempting to win another one with the contracts they're giving out, I think they might get close again or go there again. I know this is an incredibly bold take, but I'm hoping that they re-sign Odell for his sake. I think the Rams are a perfect fit for him, and everything seemed to be working out last time. I mean, I don't think they paid him much this year. Another 1 year, $7 million deal ought to get it done. I don't know if that's how much he was paid last time, but it wasn't like a ton. And he lost most of it in Bitcoin anyway. As of right now. It's going up. It's to the moon. Anyway. But I think the Giants have a chance to emulate that sort of, in a way. So, let's go back in time. The Rams were once a team with Jared Goff at quarterback, Todd Gurley at running back. Aaron Donald was still there. That's the thing. Aaron Donald was there. He was dominating. He was breaking blocks, sacking quarterbacks, causing fumbles. He's doing Aaron Donald things. Batting passes. I mean, he wasn't as great as Jamal Adams was to that announcer when the Giants played the Seahawks in 2020, if anyone remembers that game. The Giants won that game, and the announcer was like, oh, you see Jamal Adams right there on that play. What a great safety he is. I mean, you look at the way he was out there on that play. The way he took that route to get to the ball carrier, it was superb. He was like 10 yards away from the tackle. Yeah, but the route he took to be en route to that, he would have gotten that tackle like 20 yards later if the other two guys weren't there. It's like, what? That game was funny. If anyone is watching and actually remembers that. But the Rams had a lot of pieces in place. I mean, they were just at a Super Bowl. Well, I think it was the 2018 season they went to the Super Bowl. It was that boring one against the Patriots, right? But that's what they had, but it couldn't get them over the hump. It wasn't enough, right? You had the good coach. You had, the good coaching. You had a quarterback that could make throws. I don't think Jared Goff is elite or anything. I would say by far he's not. I think he's comparable to Daniel Jones, which is why I'm talking about it. I think he's comparable to Daniel Jones. I think Gurley's comparable to Saquon. And I think the Giants are close to something like that team. I'm surprised that team went that far in hindsight. Like, really. I mean, well, they obviously should have been taken out of the playoffs when that defensive pass interference was not called. That should have ended the game right then and there. And Saints should have been in the Super Bowl. But we get a boring game between the Rams and the Patriots because of bad referees. I think the Giants are at about that level. Like, about that level of getting close. I think we're a couple pieces away. And the thing about the NFL, it's tough to say that after a 4-13 season, a horrible season for the Giants. It's very tough to say that. But the talent gap in the NFL is very thin. Extremely thin. I mean, practice squad players can compete with the star players on any team. Now, in terms of the scoreboard, yeah, I'm sure if you took every single star player in the NFL and put them up against a bunch of random practice squad players, I think we all know how that game might go if, the star players have enough time to prepare and everything and all know a playbook. But the point is, the talent gap is really thin. It's not the difference between Saquon and I at running back, right? It's someone else that has worked extremely hard and is out there ready to compete and is also probably was able to dominate at their high school games, was putting up stats left and right, went to a pretty good college, but for whatever reason, they're just not having that same level of production at the NFL. And that's how close it is. Everyone was elite at one point. You top of your class in high school, you go to college, middle of the pack. Happens to a lot of people, and academics, but in this case, football, going from like college to the NFL. Big transition. The talent gap is very thin. So I think if the Giants can just get a couple more pieces, let's say Kayvon Thibodeau is great. Let's draw the Michael Strahan comparison since they're there. And he's mentoring Kayvon Thibodeau. Let's say he's about that good. Let's say Evan Neal locks down that offensive line with Andrew Thomas, so now you have a decent offensive line. Okay, well then just get some wide receiver in the second round. That's where the Rams got Cooper Kupp. And I know it's not that easy, but we're about there. Maybe Wan'Dale Robinson turns out to be that good. I think he'll be at face value, I think he'll be about as good as Sterling Shepard. And I really like Sterling Shepard. Might be a solid 700, 800 receiving yards a year, 7-touchdown guy. I think that's what Sterling Shepard is consistently when he's healthy. And then in a good season, which I think he was on track to have last year, probably could have had 1,100 yards. That's the way it was breaking the first few games. He was on track for a good season. Well, I think Giants are pretty close on that offense. Now, the big thing that I was alluding to with the Jared Goff thing is the quarterback. I think I like Daniel Jones. I have Daniel Jones' autograph. I hope that Daniel Jones just is NFL MVP this year, balls out, 95 touchdowns, all, the works. But I'm not seeing it currently. And none of the quarterbacks in last year's draft seemed to be good. I mean, it took all the way to pick 20 for Kenny Pickett to go, and then the third round, a back end of the third round, I think it was, for anyone else to go. But next year, there's supposed to be some good quarterbacks. And you would hope that the Giants can find a way to get Daniel Jones' replacement if Daniel Jones proves that he is not the guy. Now, if Daniel Jones proves he could be the guy, well, you franchise tag him, I guess, and see what happens next. And then, if he does ball out a second year, you hope he's a reasonable guy with the money and doesn't demand $60 million a year. I don't know what he would be thinking in 2 years. If you're putting up 80 touchdowns a year, that's impressive at all, but $60 million would be a lot. I don't think he's going to put up 80 touchdowns a year, but I'm just saying. I think Giants are pretty close in that regard, and basically what I'm saying is the Giants should trade for an elite player if they see fit. It's exactly what the Rams did. It can work. It's proven that there's a solid possibility of it working. Now, the thing with that, though, is, here's the big key. You can't suck after you make that trade. You give up a ton of first-round... I think they gave up 2 first-round picks to get Jalen Ramsey. And I was like, man, you gotta get to, the Super Bowl at this point with that. And I think that was maybe 19 or 17, or... I don't think it was quite 18 when they actually, did get to the Super Bowl. I think it was 18 when they did that. But I don't think it was that season that they got to the Super Bowl. I think it was... a year before or after that, and it was you gave the Jaguars a decent first round pick. It wasn't the 32nd pick, right? This time with the Lions, obviously Rams won that trade. You give the Lions the 32nd overall pick, that's impressive. That's what you're looking to do, and that's what you got to do if you make those trades. And that's pretty much what a team like the Broncos are trying to do with Russell Wilson. You give up first-round picks for a guy. Well, if you don't make the playoffs, the trade was bad. It was extremely bad because now you're giving a solid first-round pick to another team. And you clearly needed something else to be good. If you at least make the playoffs, even playing field, you win a Super Bowl, you win the trade. That's pretty much how it works when you trade first-round picks for high-end players. The Giants are nowhere near trading first-round picks for high-end players yet. But another year of drafting, building, making good signings. And, nothing's proven yet. I like most of Joe Shane's moves, if not all, or have come around on most, on the gap there. but none of the guys are proven yet. But should they start to work out, one more year, and then you're pretty close. You would think after this season, should it not blow up in flames and be 0-17, you would think after this season, Giants would have a shot at the playoffs, and then the year after, hopefully, get aggressive like the Rams have in recent years. Sign guys to the big money, keep all those big names in-house that you need, and just make it work. I think there's some comparisons here in place. I think some rebuilding needs to happen, just like the Rams did. And I think the Giants are on the right track currently to be a solid team in the future. Might not be next season, might not be this season, but I think in the future, with some of these pieces, the Giants are going to be a good team. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to work out. I think Evan Neal is going to work out. I think Andrew Thomas is going to get a big payday here in a year or two. And those are the most important pieces. You can find a wide receiver at the bargain bin, right? I think guys like Juju Smith-Schuster aren't making a ton of money right now. You can find Odell Beckham Jr.'s past their prime, but still really good, like the Rams have. You can find those guys later. You can find a wide receiver and a running back later. You defensive ends, defensive linemen in general, and offensive linemen, they don't grow on trees. You can find them. You need to find them first. Quarterbacks is another position that's not grow on trees. You got to get the quarterback. But if the rest of your team's really good, you can have a okay quarterback and still be a great team. It can work. Not ideal, but it can work. Ideally, you want to have a solid, above-average quarterback and have that guy. I mean, Matthew Stafford, he's up there, at least top 15 quarterback, at the very least. Solid quarterback, capable of winning games, clearly didn't choke in that last drive in the Super Bowl. That's all you need. You don't need to have Aaron Rodgers. And the problem with a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes is that they require so much money. I think Matthew Stafford's only making, I think he's still the highest paid player on the Rams, but I think he's making in the 30s per year as a quarterback. That's the going rate for quarterbacks. I mean, $35 million a year for a high-end quarterback, that's about where you're at right now. Now, for an elite quarterback, you're at $50 million a year. That's just where we're at. That's the quarterback market. It's not great, but that's where we're at. That's what you have to deal with. So, I would say, yeah, just get that Matthew Stafford guy. Should it be through the draft or should it be through a trade? Maybe a quarterback isn't there next year. You cannot force that quarterback pick. Maybe he's not there next year. Maybe a corner is. Maybe another offensive lineman is. Maybe another defensive lineman is. That'd get scary. Maybe a linebacker is. Whatever's there in the draft next year, you take it. And then you can, if you have had a couple years of getting these really good draft picks, then you can start to cheap out on a quarterback. And I don't mean cheap out on it, but like the Rams, you don't need to have Patrick Mahomes. You can have a guy like Matthew Stafford. And, somewhere out there, I'm sure there is that moderate quarterback. I mean, I like Baker Mayfield. He's out there right now. I'm sure if you called the Browns up, said, hey, here's a second-round pick, and we'll pay the $18 million, I'm sure they'd accept that. Now, that's tough for a guy like Baker in his current situation. I mean, the injury, he didn't play that well last year, but I think he is a solid quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying he's that quarterback that's going to win you Super Bowls, but he's a solid quarterback that can lead a team if the right team is there. Like that team's got to be pretty stacked for Baker to be winning a Super Bowl, but I think he could. And then, yeah, so Giants, they get some pieces. I think we're in the right spot. The only problem with getting a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, like I alluded to before, is you're paying them a ton, and then they have to do everything. I think we've seen that in recent seasons with the Chiefs and the Packers. They're good teams. They are teams that are going to make the playoffs every year because their quarterback is elite. But for whatever reason, they're not winning Super Bowls as much. The Chiefs won that Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes on the rookie deal because you don't have to pay him. You can have 2 more elite players if you're not paying your quarterback that much money. You can have 2 more elite players in the cap if your quarterback is on the rookie deal versus $50 million a year. That is a huge difference. That's how you see the Chiefs not making it into the Super Bowl. That's how you see the Packers not making it to the Super Bowl year in and year out. There's just a couple more good players on that other team. Plain simple. And hopefully the Giants can copy more of the Rams. I see comparisons to other teams, but I just like that Rams model. You get close, and then you just buy them. Buy the guys that you know will get you over the top. I mean, why draft a guy if you are not 1,000% sure that guy's going to get you over the top? But when you see a guy on another team that's great, proven he's great, why not just bring him in and let him take you over the top if that other team is willing to, engage in that trade? I think it's a great way to build a team, or not build a team. It's a great way to get a team over the top. And that's exactly what the Rams have done. I mean, the Rams are not building anymore. They're spending a ton of money because they're there. They're trying to win now. They're in win now mode, so you're putting everything in. And just like the Patriots, actually. The Patriots, I think Bill Belichick even said this at one point. He's like, yeah, we were at the Super Bowl 3 times in a row, and now we're not as good. That might be the Rams in several years. At about the same time the Giants are getting good, the Rams might be falling off. If you're doing everything right, that's how it's going to work. You might have cycles like that. I don't know. You guys like the background? Pretty fun. The Giants May the 4th wallpaper. Thought I'd throw that up. It was my wallpaper on my phone for the longest time, but Jabril Peppers is not a Giant anymore, so that one had to go. I could have gotten another year out of it based off of Andrew Thomas, Saquon, and Daniel Jones, but I can't just have a Jabril Peppers on my phone and just have that there. Well, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. I was able to get this in half the time last time I went on a ramble about this stuff, so I think that's pretty impressive. Comment, share, and then, like the video if you feel like it. Likes are really just for me. Commenting and sharing is what would get the video out to a few more people. All right, see you guys in the next one.